Hi, I'm making this video to shed some light on a workshop I'm going to be giving called Elemental Sound Synthesis. The only thing you'll need to participate in this workshop is a computer and some headphones so that you can follow along with what we're doing. The software we're going to use for the workshop is called Pure Data, which is a free and open source software platform where you can make your own synths. This workshop will be fine for complete beginners or people who have been making music for a while, people who make music with modular synths, people who use hardware synths, or people who use traditional instruments like, say, guitar or piano or drums. The reason that this workshop came about is that I've been playing music for a long time, and I've been using a lot of techniques such as like ring modulation, filter modulation, frequency modulation that were available in software, commercial music software, or on hardware synthesizers as presets. And I didn't really know what these things were, but I knew how they sounded. So a few years ago, I kind of dug into it a little bit and learned how to recreate these modulation techniques in Pure Data. And I found that I could customize sounds more how I wanted and make them appropriate for my music. And it almost feels like I'm sculpting sound now. So that's what this workshop is about. And that's why I think it would be beneficial even to people who've been playing music for a while, who probably know what these techniques are, but don't know exactly how to recreate them or how they work. So in this video, I'm going to cover a couple of the things that I'm going to talk about in the workshop. So the first thing we're going to cover is how to make an oscillator in Pure Data. And an oscillator is basically a voice that makes sound. So that's an oscillator. Now, if you take two oscillators and multiply them together, you get a technique called ring modulation. So here's what that sounds like. And I found that if you use a really low frequency for the second oscillator, you can get kind of a sound that sounds like a bouncing ball or a bouncing coin or something. And then another way that I like to do ring modulation is to only accentuate frequencies that are related to the note that I'm playing in the second oscillator. So if I'm playing a note in the first oscillator, I'll only take harmonics of that note for the second oscillator. So that would sound like this. So that's ring modulation. Another thing we're going to be covering is frequency modulation, which is when you use an oscillator to oscillate the pitch of the first oscillator. So it kind of almost sounds like the vibrato you would play on a traditional acoustic instrument. And you can control the depth of that oscillation, and you can also control the speed of the oscillation. And if you make the depth very slight, it's a very subtle but effective technique. And if you turned it up, it would sound like this. Now, one thing that is pretty interesting about that technique of frequency modulation is that if you speed it up so much or beyond what a human can play on an acoustic instrument, you start to get really different and complex sounds, for example. Yamaha came out with a keyboard in the 80s called the DX7, and all the sounds in that keyboard were made using frequency modulation. Even very complex sounds like bells and gongs and cymbals, you can get really sculpt some sounds with frequency modulation if you learn how to use it. And that's why I think this workshop would be beneficial to many people, including sound designers or people who want to make some unique sounds. Okay, another thing we're going to be talking about in the workshop is filter modulation. So this is what that sounds like. So filter modulation is when you have a filter that is cutting off certain frequencies and it is being controlled by an oscillator that's moving back and forth. And this is yet another technique that you can customize by using filters of your choice and having the cutoff frequency be where you want it to be, and you can really get some interesting sounds using this technique. In that software Serum, where you can get these amazing bass sounds, I started using a lot of filter modulation, and I didn't really know how to use it, but now I do through studying it, and it works really great on low frequencies. So that's kind of the basics of what we're going to be covering in elemental sound synthesis. If you would like to know where I'm going to be doing this workshop, please reach out and let me know, or perhaps you'll see this video in a promotional place where the workshop will be given. Okay, thank you for watching.